Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's public hearing. My name is John Urino. I'm the zoning examiner for the city of Tucson. We have two cases on the docket for this evening. The first case is case TP ENT 1122-00002 East Benson Highway. It's a mayor and council special exception use case. Mr. Slater, are you presenting the staff report?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Okay, so this is a request by Graham Chapman of Pinnacle Consulting on behalf of Sunstate Towers for a wireless communications facility. The special exception site is a vacant parcel, about 1,150 feet west of Craycroft Road and 400 feet north of the I-10 frontage road. The preliminary development plan proposed wireless communication tower, 3 sectors of antennas and 3 antennas per sector for a total of 9 antenna panels, with options for future co-location on 2 elevations below the top array, concealed within an artificial broadleaf tree. It's going to be 80 feet high. It's going to be within a 900 square foot lease area, located at the site on the north of I-10 and west Craycroft Road. The proposed ground equipment is going to within the screened area, screened by an 8-foot concrete masonry unit wall. Service access is going to be through a proposed access utility easement from an existing unpaved parking access driveway from Craycroft Road. It's subject communications use of this type is subject to the EDC and requires mayor and council special exception because it does not meet the setback twice its height from a residential zone property located immediately to the east. It's going to have a setback of approximately 150 feet from the east property line. It would have to be over 160 feet away in order to be over that 2 times the height distance. Documentation provided by the applicant indicates no alternative exists, and measures being taken to conceal or disguise the tower and antenna panels from view. So it is in general compliance with Plan Tucson. It's in general compliance with the Rincon Southeast Sub-Regional Plan. It's going to be visible from the nearest residential areas, which are about 400 feet away to the north. It's going to be concealed as a mono elm to minimize visual impacts. Based on the comments that we received, it bears repeating that the evaluation of the request cannot include consideration of potential environmental or health effects of radio frequency emissions, as the facility will comply with FCC regulations and standards on such emissions. So it is in compliance with the performance criteria for a wireless communication facility. And we acknowledge that the facility will help improve telecom services in the area, and approval of the request is subject to some preliminary conditions, which are in the zoning examiner packet.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Mr. Chapman, would you like to be heard?
Yes, sir. First of all, thank you, Gabriel. Appreciate that. And you hit the nail on the head. Everything that you said is completely correct. We are going to be using concealment technology to stealth this communication tower as a mono elm, as well as use the CMU block wall to hide any RF cabinets or battery cabinets away from public view. We are going to be complying with all FCC regulations, and at the end, what we just want to do is improve telecommunication service in the area. So with that, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Could you just briefly describe for me the coverage issues you have in the area that make it this tower necessary?
Absolutely. I have on the call with me our radio frequency engineer, Stephen Kennedy. Stephen Kennedy has a wealth of knowledge as a radio frequency engineer. He's been doing this for years, and Steve can elaborate more on that issue. So Stephen, if you're ready.
So it's twofold. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, please
Yes,
go
sir.
ahead.
Okay. All right, just making sure. So it's twofold. The need is capacity and coverage. In the application deck, you should see an RF design analysis. So what is coverage versus capacity? Coverage is the ability to connect to a phone, or a phone to connect to a tower, and there be communications back and forth. Capacity is the ability to process the information. So these phones are a lot different than they were 30 years ago. There's a lot more background things happen. We get email, we surf the web, we stream video, all these things, they take capacity. So capacity can be explained. Let's say you're drinking water from a hose. You get 100% of the capacity. If another user starts drinking water from that hose, now you both get 50% capacity. If two more users come on, you get 25% capacity, and it grows exponentially. These mobile devices are hogs when it comes to data and capacity and utilization network. So the issues within the area are capacity related. So all the sectors or sites surrounding where the proposed is are over capacity. They're getting a low throughput per user. So instead of, seeing 2 and 3 megabits per second or 4 to 6 megabits per second, you're seeing maybe a half a megabit per second. So it's showing that the need is there because the amount of traffic in the area is requiring. And, we all know the interstate has a lot of traffic. So that's the main need, but we also get the benefits of indoor service as well. So we're providing two things: one, capacity to help alleviate customers' issues within the area, as well as providing better indoor service for the environment around that site.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Would anyone
Yes,
else
sir.
in the audience like to be heard on this case? Hearing no one, I'm closing the hearing on case TP-ENT 11220002. Our next case is case
Thank you.
TP-ENT 11220007, Transwest Properties, Lee Street. Ms. Gayoso, are you presenting the staff report?
Yes, Mr. Urino, good evening. Yes, this is a request to rezone the property at 6244 East Lee Street from R1 residential to R2 residential. The plan is to demolish the existing single-family residence on site to build 10 attached 2-story rental homes. Because the current R1 zoning allows just for a maximum of 2 residences per lot, the request to rezone to R2 would allow the applicant to reach their proposed density of 13 residences per acre, which is still under the maximum density of 15 units per acre allowed in the R2 zone. The Planning and Development Services Department recommends approval of this proposed rezoning subject to the preliminary conditions included in the staff report that was provided to you. That's all I have pretty much, other than, the existing residence on site. It was built in 1954, but it's not listed as historic. And the applicant will need to go through the required demo permits for that. The applicant is also available here, Mr. Urino, to help answer any questions as well.
Thank you very much. Ms. Willett, would you like to be heard?
But just very briefly, good evening, Mr. Reno. Good to see you. For the record, Lexi Willett with the Planning Center 2 East Congress here in Tucson. Ms. Gayoso hit our presentation also spot on this evening. Thank you, Maria, for that. This is a very straightforward request, as it's kind of a unique R1 zoning surrounded by a higher density property. So a rezoning to R2 is appropriate to allow for higher intensity uses, as everything surrounding that property is higher density. So what we're proposing here is 10 units that will basically emulate more of a townhome community, if you will, but will be for a rental product. Garages will be placed on the ground floor with livable units placed above that. So we held a neighborhood meeting a couple months ago and did not have any attendees at that neighborhood meeting. And then since then I understand a protest has come through. I have not made any contact with the gentleman that submitted that protest. So if staff has any contact for them, I'm happy to reach out and see what their concerns are. But we have also met with Councilmember Kozachik's office to discuss this proposal, and he too has not heard from anyone and has expressed support for this proposal as well. So with that, I have nothing else, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, and I don't have any questions, but I appreciate it. Would anyone else in the audience like to be heard on this case? Hearing no one, I'm closing the hearing on case TPENT 1122000007. Nice seeing everyone and hoping everyone has a safe and lovely evening. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.